Sometimes in fantasy football, players don't get credit for a hot start to the season, and sometimes people start off a little bit slow and get written off way too early. But what we need to do is identify those players and get them on our team before it's too late. Because if you really want to increase your chances at a fantasy football championship, sometimes you have to add some of those less sexy players that are about to go nuclear. That's right, today we're talking about 5 players who have everything they need to go straight ham sandwich in your fantasy football lineup. And let's be completely honest, I think everyone likes ham sandwiches, and if you don't, go ahead, make it turkey, you get the point. But let's actually have a little fun with that. I want to know down below in the comment section right now, what is your go-to sandwich? I'm really curious to see which sandwich comment down below gets the most likes. Let's see what the most liked sandwich is in Headliner Nation, and let's dive into the first player. It's Brian Robinson Jr. of the Washington Commanders. And so much changed this offseason for the Washington Commanders, right? We got a new coaching staff, a new franchise quarterback. They brought in Austin Eckler as well. And there was a lot of expectations that Brian Robinson was really going to fall into a 50-50 split backfield and not have much of a ceiling. Well, he has kind of fallen into that 50-50 split backfield so far through 2 games in 2024. He's averaging 58% of the offensive snaps weekly. But what was not expected was him still being used in the pass catching game. Both him and Austin Eckler currently tied in targets, and wasn't really expecting that. He's actually on pace for a career high in targets, receptions, and receiving yards is Brian Robinson, but that is not it. He's also already had the longest rush of his career, a current career high in yards per attempt, yards per game, and yards per touch, and because of that, he's racked up 225 total yards in just 2 games this season, the current running back 12 overall in fantasy football. In fact, with how he's started, he's on pace for 1,900 total yards this season. Now, I think that number is a little bit high. I don't think he goes all the way to 1,900. But even if that number drops down to, say, 1,400, take 500 yards off of it, he was drafted as the running back 31 overall. 1,400 total yards, right around 40 receptions, and a handful of touchdowns is going to make him an RB2 every single day of the week in fantasy football. But what if the averages don't fall off? What if Cliff Kingsbury does with Brian Robinson what he did with Kenyon Drake and James Conner a few seasons ago in Arizona? Despite being in a split backfield, they were still huge fantasy assets. Brian Robinson could turn into a running back that you drafted to stash on your bench and then ends up leading you to a fantasy title. How about Ramondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots? The dude is a bell cow running back right now in the NFL, and hardly anyone is really talking about it that much. He's currently 3rd in the league in carries, 8th in targets, 10th in red zone touches, 5th in rushing yards, 8th in routes run, 1st in evaded tackles, 2nd in yards carried. Do you see a trend here? The dude is playing great football. He's the overall running back 9 right now in fantasy, averaging 18 fantasy points per game, yet the consensus rankings don't even have him ranked as a top 15 running back rest of season. The guy's getting 23 plus touches a game. The overall passing attack in New England is going to be below average most of the season. Ramondre Stevenson just got paid this offseason, so you know they're dedicated to him. He's not a liability in the passing game. Heck, he had 88 targets back in 2022, and now he's on pace for over 1,800 total yards. The split in the backfield with Antonio Gibson does not worry me because this team is so starved for offensive playmakers. If that volume stays anywhere near consistent for the rest of the season, and honestly, I don't see any reason why it won't, we are about to be in for Steven season part 2. Another running back is Tony Pollard of the Tennessee Titans, and people hated Tony Pollard all offseason because of what happened in Dallas last year in 2023, but hopefully Headliner Nation bought the dip in 2024. He was one of my most talked about players this offseason because the price was just too good to pass up. Now, through 2 weeks, he's top 12 in the league in carries, targets, receiving yards, and receptions. The current running back 13 overall. Now, yes, there is a split backfield here, and the split in the backfield that a lot of people expected just isn't really there, not much anyway. It's a 70-30 split right now between Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. Pollard's numbers across the board are better than last year in Dallas. He's had at least 1,000 total yards in 3 straight seasons, and no reason to think that that does not happen again, especially with the passing game right now in Tennessee needing a little bit more time to get going. Pollard was a steal in drafts for sure, 100%. And if these averages continue, he's about to be a weekly reliable flex option that you didn't know you had when you drafted him. But I want to go a step further with Tony Pollard. I'm actually going to head over to Underdog right now and smash the higher of 59.5 rushing yards this week against Green Bay. Green Bay in back-to-back weeks has allowed big games to the likes of Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, and we've seen Tony Pollard beat that 59.5 in both games this season as a Titan. Now, maybe you're not on Underdog with us here just yet, but now is the time to do so. Just head over to Underdog, create a new account, and use the referral code HEADLINERS when you sign up. Then all you have to do is make your minimum $10 deposit. Now, if you do that, you're going to get a few free things in your account, one being some free picks, like this CeeDee Lamb one that is in there right now that you can take advantage of. The dude only needs 1 yard to hit it. I'm pretty sure he's going to get it, but you're also going to get a first-time deposit bonus of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I need you to come on over and do some player pick'ems with us. We're having a lot of fun. But now we're going to talk about a couple wide receivers. The first one is Brandon Aiyuk of the San Francisco 49ers, and so many people were just turned off of Brandon Aiyuk because of the contract issues this offseason. And then on top of that, he started the season a little bit slow after missing a bulk of the offseason due to the contract negotiations, but his value right now is probably lower than it has been in quite some time. We know Christian McCaffrey is hurt. Now we know that Deebo Samuel is hurt. George Kittle isn't exactly the model of perfect health each and every year, and Brandon Aiyuk is going to have to be used a lot more if San Francisco wants to win some ball games. But so many people see his production over the first 2 weeks of the season, and they've kind of had it. But now he gets a matchup this week going up against the Los Angeles Rams, who are just torched by Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. The writing is on the wall for Brandon Aiyuk to get going this week, which means his value is going to skyrocket. He's been a top 15 fantasy wide receiver now in back-to-back years. He's going to be the big play guy in San Francisco in the near and immediate future. San Francisco is coming off an embarrassing loss in Minnesota. Now they get a great matchup at home, and this is where he's going to be needed most. If these injuries can linger in San Francisco all season long, we could be in line for a huge Brandon Aiyuk season from here on out. And then lastly, it's Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks. How did JSN go from just 2 targets in week 1 to 16 targets in week 2? Both of them were fairly close games. Week 2 was against New England. Not like it was some cream puff matchup for him. It's not like Tyler Lockett wasn't on the field. Lockett played 81% of the snaps. But now, JSN is running more routes than Tyler Lockett, and he's not just running dink and dunk routes underneath, he's actually getting more of a chance down the field. This new coaching staff in Seattle just unlocked a potential monster in Seattle. It was never about talent. It was always about opportunity, because he always had the talent. Well, now he got the opportunity and he absolutely snatched it. There is no way that Seattle cannot start going to him more and more each and every week. Now, sure, Tyler Lockett is going to be involved in this passing game still, but the passing of the torch has begun. Now, no, I do not expect 16 targets a week going the way of JSN, but with his hands and his ability, if he can average right around 7 to 8 targets a game, that's going to put him in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,200 yards receiving this year, which could be a huge boost to your fantasy football team if you're in need of a wide receiver. Look at all the injuries that are racking up around the league. JSN is a very pleasant surprise for a lot of people. Now, if the deep shots continue the rest of the season, we could see JSN go as high as 1,400 yards receiving this year, which means he would go straight up nuclear in your lineup. So there you have 5 players that could go absolutely nuclear the remaining part of 2024. Now, it is fantasy football, so we need a little bit of luck. But if these trends can continue and these players can stay healthy, we could be looking in for a huge draft day payout that we weren't really anticipating. Now, I already asked you to comment about some sandwiches down below, but I also want to know which one of these players are you most excited for the rest of the 2024 season. Leave those comments down below. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys out there in Headliner Nation as well, but I'm going to go ahead and get out of here for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and then most importantly, do your part to make the world a better place.